If you've ever felt that quiet confusion where her words say friend, but something in her presence feels warmer, more charged, more personal than friendship should be, you're not imagining things. And before the end of this video, something subtle but important will click into place for you. If this kind of psychological clarity matters to you, gently supporting the channel by liking the video or subscribing helps these conversations reach men who need them. Now let's talk honestly. Many men come to me with the same question, often asked quietly, almost with embarrassment. She says I'm just a friend, but it doesn't feel that simple. What makes this difficult isn't rejection, it's ambiguity. The human nervous system doesn't struggle most with loss, it struggles with uncertainty. Here is the first truth most men were never taught. Attraction does not always announce itself clearly, especially in emotionally intelligent or self-protective women. For many women, attraction develops in layers, not declarations. It can exist long before she feels safe enough to name it, even to herself. When a woman places you in her friend category, that label is not always a verdict. Sometimes it's a holding space, a psychological pause, a way of staying close without the emotional risk that attraction demands. This is not manipulation, it is caution. Female psychology is deeply shaped by safety, emotional safety, relational safety, and future-oriented safety. A woman can feel drawn to you while still watching how you respond to stress, watching whether you respect her boundaries, watching whether your sense of self collapses around her attention or remains steady without it. One of the earliest signs that friendship is not the whole story is emotional priority. Notice this carefully. Does she seek you out when she is overwhelmed, excited, confused, or reflective, not just bored? Emotional disclosure is not given casually. When a woman chooses you as a place to rest her inner world, attraction is often present, even if unnamed. Another subtle indicator is how she reacts to your absence. Not dramatic, not possessive, but a quiet shift. She notices when you pull back slightly. She asks where you've been. She fills the space with messages that don't strictly need to be sent. This isn't about control, it's about attunement. The nervous system registers loss before the mind admits desire. You may also sense moments of inconsistency. Warmth followed by distance. Openness followed by restraint. Many men misinterpret this as disinterest. In reality, it is often internal negotiation. Attraction creates vulnerability, and vulnerability, for many women, is something they were taught to manage carefully, not rush into. What matters most here is not decoding her behavior obsessively. It's observing how you feel around her. Do you feel respected, seen, calmer, not anxious? Real attraction does not live in confusion alone. It coexists with a sense of emotional grounding. This conversation isn't about chasing signs or forcing outcomes. It's about understanding the psychological landscape you're standing in, because when you understand that, your next moves become quieter, clearer, and far more powerful. One of the most misunderstood aspects of female attraction is how rarely it is driven by urgency. Men are often taught to look for immediacy, clear signals, quick escalation, obvious desire. But for many women, attraction grows through observation, through time, through emotional consistency. This is where many men unintentionally disqualify themselves without realizing it, not by doing something wrong, but by doing too much, too soon. When a woman is secretly attracted to you, she often studies how you carry yourself when nothing is promised. She notices whether your kindness has an agenda, whether your attention feels conditional, whether your mood depends on her validation. Attraction weakens when it feels like pressure. It deepens when it feels like choice. You might notice that she asks you questions that go beyond surface-level curiosity. Not interrogations, but invitations. Questions about your values, your childhood, your sense of purpose, your emotional boundaries. This isn't idle conversation. This is assessment. She is trying to understand what kind of man you are when the mask is off. Another important sign lives in contrast. Compare how she speaks to you versus how she speaks about others. Does she soften when she talks to you? Does her tone slow down? Does she allow silence instead of rushing to fill it? Silence is intimate. People only allow it when they feel safe. Women who are attracted but cautious often use humor as a shield. Playful teasing, light sarcasm, gentle challenges. This isn't dismissal. It's testing emotional resilience. She wants to see if you crumble, become defensive, or remain grounded and amused. Emotional steadiness is profoundly attractive because it signals safety. Pay attention also to how she includes you in her inner narrative. She might say things like, "You'd understand this," or "I thought of you when this happened." These statements are small but psychologically significant. They reveal that you occupy mental space even when you're not present. However, there is a line many men cross here. They mistake emotional closeness for obligation. They assume that because she opens up, they must rescue, fix, or overinvest. This is where attraction quietly retreats. Women don't fall for men who abandon themselves to be chosen. They are drawn to men who choose themselves while remaining emotionally available. A woman who is secretly attracted often watches how you respond to her independence. Do you respect her autonomy, or do you subtly compete with it? Do you encourage her growth, or feel threatened by it? Attraction is not about possession. It's about partnership potential. There's also something important in what she does not do. She doesn't shut you out. She doesn't keep you at arm's length emotionally. She doesn't treat you as interchangeable. Even when she says friend, her behavior carries nuance, depth, and intentionality. What you must understand is this: attraction does not require pursuit to survive. It requires space to breathe. When you stop trying to earn her interest and start embodying your own direction, something shifts. Not because you changed tactics, but because you aligned with yourself. And that alignment is something her psychology notices long before her words ever do. There is a quiet moment most men overlook, a moment that reveals far more than compliments or attention ever could. It's how she responds when you don't chase her emotional temperature. When a woman is secretly attracted, she becomes unusually aware of your emotional boundaries, not in a controlling way, but in a perceptive one. She notices when you don't rush to explain yourself, when you don't overcorrect misunderstandings, when you allow her space to interpret you rather than constantly narrating who you are. This creates psychological tension, and tension is the soil attraction grows in. Many men believe attraction is built by proving value. In reality, attraction is often sustained by restraint, by what you choose not to do, by the confidence to let moments remain unresolved. When you don't rush to secure certainty, her mind stays engaged with you. You may notice she becomes more curious when you are calm instead of reactive, when you listen more than you perform, when your presence feels grounded rather than eager. This doesn't mean being distant or cold. It means being internally anchored. Women are acutely sensitive to emotional authenticity. If your interest feels like pressure, it triggers caution. If it feels like grounded curiosity, it invites closeness. A man who can hold attraction without demanding outcome is rare and deeply compelling. Another sign lives in how she protects the connection. If she defends you subtly in conversations, avoids speaking poorly of you, or corrects misunderstandings others have about you, that's not casual. That's investment. People protect what matters to them emotionally. You might also notice moments where she mirrors you, your language patterns, your humor, your emotional pacing. This isn't conscious imitation, it's resonance. Humans naturally sync with those they feel drawn to. It's one of the oldest indicators of psychological attraction. But here is where discernment matters. Attraction does not mean readiness. A woman can feel drawn to you and still not be prepared to act on it. This has nothing to do with your worth. It has everything to do with timing, past experiences, and emotional capacity. Men often misinterpret hesitation as rejection. In many cases, it is integration. She is allowing her feelings to settle before she names them. Rushing this process collapses attraction. Respecting it strengthens it. Notice also how she reacts to other women around you. Not jealousy in the dramatic sense, but awareness. A shift in attention. A slight change in tone. Attraction heightens perception. You suddenly exist in sharper focus. The most important question is not whether she is attracted. It's whether you are showing up as the kind of man who can hold attraction without losing himself. Are you present without being dependent, open without being porous, interested without being consumed? Because the deepest form of attraction isn't sparked by tactics. It's evoked by emotional maturity, by a man who knows who he is, where he's going, and who doesn't need permission to remain grounded. When you embody that, her psychology responds, not because she decides to, but because it feels safe to. There is a deeper layer most men never consider, and it has nothing to do with signals, behavior, or timing. It has to do with identity. When a woman is secretly attracted to you, she doesn't just relate to you as a person. She begins to relate to who she is when she is around you. This is subtle, but powerful. Notice whether she seems more reflective, more playful, or more emotionally open in your presence. Attraction often reveals itself not in what she does toward you, but in who she becomes around you. A woman pays close attention to how you make her feel about herself. Not flattered, not impressed, but regulated. Calm, understood, emotionally safe. If she feels less guarded around you than around others, that's not accidental. It means her nervous system trusts you. You might notice that she brings you into moments that matter to her identity, her creative interests, her values, her doubts about the future. These are not shared lightly. When she allows you into these spaces, she is subconsciously exploring compatibility, not friendship alone. Another important sign is emotional accountability. If she cares about your perception of her, if she clarifies misunderstandings, apologizes when she feels she crossed a line, or explains herself without being asked, this reflects emotional investment. Indifference doesn't repair, attraction does. At this stage, many men become impatient. They feel the closeness and want clarity. They want to label it, define it, or secure it. This is where emotional intelligence matters most. The man who can tolerate ambiguity without resentment signals strength. He doesn't demand certainty to remain respectful and present. Women are drawn to men who don't collapse under emotional uncertainty, not because they enjoy ambiguity, but because it mirrors life itself. Life is uncertain. A man who remains steady within it feels trustworthy. There's also something important in how she responds to your growth. If she encourages your goals, respects your time, and does not compete with your purpose, that's attraction aligned with admiration. Admiration is the quiet backbone of lasting desire. Be aware, though, of one trap. Do not turn emotional closeness into emotional labor. You are not there to absorb, fix, or carry her emotions. You are there to witness, reflect, and remain whole. Attraction fades when a man abandons himself to be useful. A woman who is secretly attracted will often test boundaries, not to break them, but to see if they exist. Do you say no calmly when needed? Do you protect your time without guilt? Boundaries don't push attraction away. They give it shape. The truth most men never hear is this: attraction grows where respect and emotional safety intersect. Not where effort is highest, but where self-respect is consistent. And when you hold yourself with quiet confidence, without chasing or withdrawing, something important happens inside her. She doesn't just feel drawn to you, she feels safe imagining more. There is a moment in every emotionally charged connection where the dynamic either deepens or quietly dissolves. Most men never notice this moment because it doesn't arrive with drama, it arrives with restraint. When a woman is secretly attracted to you, she watches how you handle power, emotional power, not control. Power in this context means choice, the ability to stay or step back without resentment, the ability to be warm without being needy, the ability to want without demanding. Many men believe attraction is proven by persistence. In female psychology, attraction is often confirmed by discernment. She wants to know whether you choose her from fullness, not from lack. Notice how she responds when you don't immediately prioritize her above everything else. If she respects your time, supports your commitments, and doesn't guilt you for having a life, that's not neutrality. That's alignment. Attraction that competes with your purpose tends to fade. Attraction that complements it tends to grow. You may also notice that she reveals vulnerability in controlled doses, a story about a past disappointment, a fear she doesn't usually share. These are not confessions meant to pull you closer. They are offerings. She is gauging how you hold delicate information. Do you honor it, or do you rush to reassure, analyze, or fix? Women feel safest with men who can sit with emotion without trying to control it. Presence is more attractive than solutions. Another subtle sign is how she reacts to your confidence. Not bravado, not dominance, but self-trust. When you speak calmly about your decisions, when you don't seek approval for your boundaries, when you move through the world with quiet direction, it signals maturity. That maturity often activates attraction, even when she tries to frame the connection as friendship. At this stage, many men sabotage themselves by asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, "Does she like me?" a more grounded question is, "Do I like who I am in this dynamic?" Because attraction that costs you your peace is not attraction worth pursuing. A woman who is secretly attracted will not try to shrink you. She won't mock your goals, dismiss your values, or subtly undermine your confidence. She may challenge you, yes, but with curiosity, not contempt. You might also sense that she becomes more intentional with you. She remembers details, she follows up, she checks in. Not constantly, but consistently. Consistency is a form of emotional honesty. There is something else happening beneath the surface. She is asking herself whether intimacy with you would feel safe over time. Not exciting for a moment, but steady across seasons. Women think in trajectories more than moments. This is why patience matters. Not passive waiting, but grounded patience. The kind that says, "I am open, but I am not attached to outcome." That energy is rare, and it is magnetic. Because when a woman senses that you are whole without her, yet genuinely present with her, attraction no longer feels risky. It feels possible. As attraction deepens, something quiet but revealing begins to happen. She starts responding to your emotional leadership. Emotional leadership doesn't mean directing her feelings or controlling the pace. It means setting a tone through your consistency, your boundaries, and your calm presence. When a woman is secretly attracted, she watches whether you can hold emotional space without being pulled off center. You may notice that she begins to follow your rhythm. If you slow down, she slows down. If you become more reflective, she mirrors that depth. This isn't submission, it's trust. People naturally align with those who feel emotionally steady. At this point, many women feel an internal conflict. Attraction invites vulnerability, and vulnerability reopens old lessons, past disappointments, broken trust, moments where closeness cost them more than it gave. This can cause her to hesitate, even as attraction strengthens. Her hesitation is not a test of your worth. It is a test of emotional safety. Pay attention to how she reacts when you express gentle honesty. Not pressure, not declarations, but clarity. If you share your perspective calmly and without expectation, and she responds with thoughtfulness rather than withdrawal, that's a strong indicator that the attraction is real and maturing. Another subtle sign is emotional repair. If tension arises and she seeks to restore connection rather than avoid it, that's not friendship behavior. That's relational investment. Repair requires care. Indifference does not repair. You might also notice that she becomes more receptive to your influence. She considers your opinions, reflects on your words later, mentions something you said days or weeks before. When someone internalizes your voice, it means you matter to their inner world. But here is where self-respect becomes critical. Do not confuse influence with responsibility. You are not responsible for her emotional readiness. You are responsible for your own alignment. A man who maintains his standards while remaining emotionally accessible communicates something powerful. I am safe, but I am not self-abandoning. That balance is deeply attractive because it signals long-term stability. Another overlooked sign is how she responds to your vulnerability. Not oversharing, but honest self-expression. If she listens without judgment, doesn't minimize your experience, and doesn't weaponize your openness later, that's emotional maturity meeting attraction. At this stage, attraction often becomes visible not through escalation, but through restraint, through mutual pacing, through moments where nothing dramatic happens, yet everything feels meaningful. Many men rush here. They try to force clarity because ambiguity feels uncomfortable, but emotional attraction matures when allowed to unfold organically, not rushed, not stalled, held with patience and integrity. The truth is, when a woman is secretly attracted, she is not asking, "How do I get closer?" She is asking, "Can I trust this closeness?" Your job is not to convince her. Your job is to remain someone worth trusting, calm, grounded, and self-directed. When you do that, attraction doesn't need to be chased. It reveals itself. There comes a moment when attraction stops feeling uncertain and starts feeling calm. Not exciting in a chaotic way, but steady, grounded, and real. This is usually the point where a woman no longer needs to question what she feels, because your consistency has already answered the question for her. When attraction has been quietly present, what changes first is her nervous system. She relaxes around you, conversations slow down, eye contact lingers, presence replaces testing. This is not accidental. It is what happens when emotional safety has been established over time. You may notice that she becomes more intentional, she listens more closely, she remembers what matters to you. She follows up without being prompted. These are not dramatic gestures, but they are honest ones. Attraction matures through reliability, not intensity. Another shift appears in how she speaks about her life. She shares direction, values, and future-oriented thoughts, not promises, not plans involving you directly, but context. She is allowing you to see where she is headed, because compatibility now matters. At this stage, many men finally realize something important. The goal was never to make her choose. The real work was becoming a man who does not disappear emotionally while waiting to be chosen. If you stayed grounded without chasing, you demonstrated self-respect. If you stayed warm without overextending, you demonstrated emotional regulation. If you stayed honest without pressure, you demonstrated maturity. These qualities are felt long before they are named. Whether or not the connection becomes romantic, you leave this experience changed. You learn that attraction responds to presence, not performance, to clarity, not control, to emotional steadiness, not anxiety. A woman does not feel drawn to you because you tried harder. She feels drawn because being around you feels safe, clear, and emotionally coherent. And if she steps forward, it will not feel confusing. It will feel natural, mutual, unforced. If she does not, you will still walk away intact, because you did not abandon yourself to keep her close. That is the deeper win. So if you ever find yourself wondering whether she only sees you as a friend, look inward. Notice who you became while navigating uncertainty with integrity, because real attraction does not destabilize you. It steadies you, and the right connection never requires you to lose yourself in order to be seen. It teaches you that clarity grows from self-respect, patience, and presence, and that emotional strength quietly invites the connection that meets you without confusion or fear over time when readiness exists.